I really feel like I had the most non-traditional route ever. 10 out of 10 would not recommend to anybody, okay? However, I also would not change a thing. Welcome to the place where visionaries, leaders, and kingdom builders come when you are in the alley as I help you discover the keys to unlock your next level of clarity, strategy, and confidence. I'm Dr. LaTanya. Welcome back to my channel where I am helping you discover the keys to unlock your next level of clarity, strategy, and confidence. Let me tell you something. I'm Dr. LaTanya Moore, and baby, we are jumping right on in this thing. Why? Because I know you saw that title of my video, and this is some good, juicy gossip, a good story, and some amazing tips, especially if God is moving you out of your 9 to 5 or out of your work and into your purpose or passion. Okay? Let's go. It's my quit-iversary. Quit-iversary. Oh my goodness. It has been 1 year since I moved outside of corporate and into full-time kingdom work. I can hardly believe that it's only been a year because it feels like at least 5 years, okay? It feels like I've been doing this for quite some time. Now, to be fair, I have been doing this for quite some time, years, and I was working in corporate and still doing everything for my businesses, on the side. I was that girl who was working the 9 to 5 and the 5 to 9, so it didn't end at 9 at all, okay? More like 2:59 a.m. But when I tell you I'm so excited to celebrate this 1 year because I really feel like I had the most non-traditional route ever. 10 out of 10 would not recommend to anybody, okay? However, I also would not change a thing. And so I believe that God is so strategic, and I believe him in every step of this process, right? Because I've believed him, I've trusted him, and I've moved in faith in it. I got some tips for you, okay? If you know that you are a kingdom builder, kingdom visionary, who God is, moving out of their, out of your 9 to 5, then I really want you to consider a couple things, okay? I had the most random, it feels random at least. I had the most random opportunity to quit my job 1 year ago. And let me tell you something, it was so fast. Oh my goodness, so fast. On what felt like, again, a random Monday at noon, I felt like today is my last day. Like, I felt like today, it was just a day. I had no explanation for it. It did not make sense. Things were already kind of shifting anyway. I had a contract that was ending and they were trying to put me on a new contract, but it didn't feel like I was supposed to go to that new contract. And then all of a sudden, I felt like today is the day that I leave. And that day, I actually received 2 confirmations. So 2 people, one called and one text. And both were words. Both were words from God that said something to the effect of, I feel like you're going to be leaving your job soon. Or, God is calling you out of that place, of work, and you're going to be working for him or employed by him full time. Oh my goodness. So when I tell you that it was so random, but not random because it was something that I had prayed for. And so when I received that, what felt like random instruction on a Monday at noon, I actually went back to the letter, the resignation letter that I had already typed up in faith. And when I looked at the letter, the date that was on the letter would have been 2 weeks out from the date that was already written. Oh my goodness. So I began this journey of literally being employed full-time by God without having a full plan, without feeling like I was prepared or any of those things, okay? So let me just tell you a few tips. I got a couple tips, okay? And the reason why I have these tips is because these 3 things are 3 things that I feel like you need to really focus on when you know at some point God is calling you out of corporate. If he's already told you, if he's already showed you, then baby, it's only a matter of time, okay? Listen up, visionary. So 1, When God is calling you out of corporate, one of the things that I want you to do is to start to prepare, right? Start to prepare for what you prayed for. That means that you are setting up things on the side. You are getting your finances in order. You are making sure that you are keeping your schedule in a place where you are really mapping things out, what you want your schedule to look like, what you want your finances to look like. That means you're building a cushion, right? And you're just building and preparing for what you've already prayed for. It could also mean that you're updating your website. You're updating the things that you know that you already do on the side, and you're preparing to do those things full time. Yep, you're imagining what this would look like, what it would feel like you are really stepping into the role in advance, right? Because you are preparing for what you prayed for. I can honestly say that, baby, I was not prepared, okay? Even though God had shown me that I was gonna eventually live this life of being a full-time kingdom entrepreneur or kingdom builder, I was not prepared. And I say that because I personally do not feel like I had the cushion that I needed and or desired in order to move fully into this thing. And that really brings me to number 2. Know that God will provide, okay? Although I really desire this cushion and this extra, I desire to have all these things in place. When God moved me out of corporate, He really moved me into a super big assignment. Literally the same week that I quit my job, was the same week that God gave me a tour to plan. And I planned this 4-city tour in just 30 days, okay? So literally, I leave out of corporate, and baby, now I gotta incorporate a 4-city tour with no job. So I moved into this place where I was literally having to depend on God. I'm talking about there was no other way, really. I had to depend on God. There was no other backup. There was no other choice. And so one of the things that I learned through this is that the Lord was having me go back to some places and spaces where I had made some covenants with myself. The Lord began to show me that when I was 17 years old, I will never forget this moment because I remember myself, I was a worker at Sonic Drive-In or Drive-Through. And I was literally working at Sonic as a 17-year-old. I was also working at Hardee's. I was like making biscuits in the morning. Baby, I was a hard worker. I've always been a hard worker. And so I'm making biscuits in the morning and I'm like working at Sonic at night. And I was coming home and I was counting my cash. And I remember saying to myself, I will never be broke because I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I started making this pact with myself. And the Lord took me back to that place and showed me how I really made a covenant with myself. When I tell you, He said you made a covenant with yourself, so much so that you made yourself responsible for your own provision. And when He moved me out of corporate, the Lord said to me, I am now responsible for your provision. When I tell you, you gotta trust when God is moving you outside of the corporate space where you are not going to be #addicted to direct deposit anymore, because that was me. You have to trust that He is going to provide. And sometimes you don't know how and you don't know why, but baby, it comes through every single time. The entire time for 5 months when I did not work, I tell people all the time, I never missed a meal and I never missed a bill, okay? And so He was doing things to ensure that I had everything I needed during that time. Literally, that moved me into really being in a place and space where I said, okay, God, I have to be point number three, I have to be so prayerful that I ask you for instructions every single day. Every single day, I had to learn to ask, and still learning and still doing this, I had to learn to ask God for instructions every single day. I had to ask Him for instructions for my business. I had to ask Him for instructions for my life. I had to ask Him for instructions for that day. And I had to move in those instructions. So if you know that God is calling you out of corporate and He's calling you into kingdom full time, that means that you are standing on the set of instructions that He gives you every single day. It's like a fresh manna, a fresh word that comes, that He downloads and that He releases for you to move into, okay? So one, I want you to start preparing. If you know that God is calling you out of corporate and into kingdom ministry full time, okay? Start preparing, whatever that looks like. 2, I want you to know that God will provide, okay? He delivers the fresh manna every time you need it. And he's putting you in position to actually trust him for your provision. And 3, you got to pray about your instructions every single day. God is really the CEO of this thing, and I would not know what to do had he not given me those instructions every single day. Man, there are days where I was like, I don't even know what to do. Lord, I'm just going to come to you first. And I'm just gonna wait until you tell me what to do. Literally, like, you're my boss. And so I'm like, what do you need me to do today? What is it that you want me to accomplish today? And I started to ask questions like that so I can hear from heaven so that I can move into those instructions. Let me tell you something. Every single day I've received and I've gotten instructions from God. Let me tell you, you cannot be a full-time kingdompreneur or kingdom builder or, any of those things without seeking him. And there are moments where you wonder if you're even called to the very place where you know he is always meant for you to be. So I want to challenge you to really spend time with him and really learn different ways that you can begin to prepare for where he is moving you and where he is taking you as it relates to kingdom entrepreneurship or full-time kingdom building. Man, this thing is a challenge and it is also a charge, right? To move forward into the things that God has called me to do and to be here for you full-time to accomplish the assignments and help you move into the next level that he has called you to. Even in times like this, when it feels like you're experiencing or going through a transition. So will you celebrate with me? I invite you to celebrate with me as I celebrate this 1-year quittiversary and really honor God and all that he has called me to do in this year. Man, it feels like a whirlwind, but one thing I know for sure is that in this matter of time, he's taking me from whirlwind to worldwide. And I believe and trust God that he placed me here on this earth, in this position, in this place for such a time as this. And I believe that he's done the same for you. Okay? Listen, remember, you got the keys. And so if you have the keys, then God is going to give you those keys. He's going to give you that wisdom in order to move fully into the call that he has for you. And that means that if it's leaving 9 to 5, leaving corporate and going into kingdom, then baby, we got some work to do. I'm so excited for you. If you are that person, leave me a comment. Let me know what God is doing in your life. Send it to someone who you feel like, God is moving outside of corporate and into kingdom, and maybe even sending them back into corporate spaces later to bring the kingdom to corporate. All right? I would love to connect. Go to the link in my description. Let's connect. Let's talk about it. And let's make sure that you have all the tools and strategies you need to live this life successfully and unlock your next level. Remember, you got the keys.